I cheated on my wife with my colleague, but now she's hesitant.
About what?
Howdy. So, long story short, 2 years ago now, my marriage of 10 years was difficult. We had one kid who's currently 5, but we wanted 2, and we were attending relationship counseling. It felt like everything was getting better. We were working through our relationship issues and slowly making progress and continue with our premeditated plan to have another kid. By the way, this comes from Born Information 914, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. So, both my wife, 37 female, and I, 34 male, had different issues with our marriage. She felt unappreciated amongst a large list of other things, and I was struggling with a complete lack of intimacy from her. We were able to work through these problems, but literally as soon as the positive pregnancy test came through, everything quickly fell apart. In the next relationship counseling session, the wife stated that during spicy sleep, she faked everything and pretty much hated everything about anything intimate with me. It was really hard to hear and completely destroyed my self-esteem. I couldn't even contact the relationship counselor to cancel or confirm the next session. I just ignored their emails. The wife went completely cold from this point on and spent literally no time with me and made zero effort.
Dude, you guys are done. Whew.
Sounds like it. I would probably go as far as saying that she made an effort to be cold and distant from me. The pregnancy and new baby were obviously exhausting, and I tried to cut her some slack for this, but when I look back on this time period now, they are some of the worst 2 years of my life when they should have been the best. I was extremely mad at my wife at times. We would rarely fight and actually got on with each other quite well during the day, but any attempts to kiss or get any affection from my wife were quickly rejected. Every few months, we would have a bit of a meltdown and need to stop and air our grievances. It felt like I was going back to square one during every discussion. There was a long list of things that I had to do before she would consider giving me affection, but it was tough and impossible for me to get everything right and definitely wouldn't end in me getting any affection. Even thinking about this now makes me feel exhausted. As the 2 years went by, the only thing keeping me there was the kids. My parents split when I was a kid, and before committing to having children, I swore that I would never abandon them and leave them feeling as I did. During our last discussion/argument, I wanted out, but I just powered through, thinking that I needed to do what is best for the kids, no matter what. I knew that I was lying to myself and to the wife, and I didn't mind being dishonest, as I could say that I was doing what's best for the kids as an excuse. Fast forward to August, we were having a big sales drive at work, and I was assigned to go on a 2-week sales trip across several states with a colleague. I picked up my relatively new colleague, 30 female, and drove her to the airport. Up until this point, I had barely noticed her or spoken to her. I try and be as professional as possible at work. I was dreading the trip. I had no self-esteem and didn't want to be annoying or uncool. I knew that we would need to spend lots of time together, and I just wanted to do the job well, and for her to at least have an okay time and not to hate me by the end of it. I have a feeling that they had a actually really great trip.
I think we're really having fun on this trip. You guys don't like each other.
Yeah.
Wow. You guys really don't like each other.
Yeah.
Like, a majority of this marriage has just been you guys don't like each other.
Yeah.
Like, her saying, I've never enjoyed any spicy stuff that we do. Ooh.
Yeah.
And then it just seems like you have to work hard for any of the affection that she's getting or that she's giving out. It's just, this is bad.
Right. It's just, this is not going well. Not going well, man. As we drove to the airport, we started talking, and we just didn't stop. We went to the bar, stayed up talking until 2 a.m., and then went to work starting at 8 a.m. the next day. We easily powered through the day somehow, despite the hangover, and did the same thing the next night. It turns out we have so much in common, and we're also both unhappy in our current relationships. Oh,
Stop!
no.
Stop!
The third night was the same, but at 2 a.m. the flirting progressed. We ended up kissing and went to the same room. Just like everything else, the spicy sleep was beyond amazing, but somehow this is almost a minor detail. Interesting. The rest of the trip was a dream. We spent 24 hours with each other, and that wasn't nearly enough.
You suck. You're the a-hole. You're the a-hole. You have no excuses.
Yeah. We would stay up until we literally couldn't keep our eyelids open. It was literally a dream, and everything was perfect until we realized the trip was ending. There were some tears. We both didn't want to go back to reality. We had realized by this time that we were deeply in love with each other. The final airport journey.
I'm sorry. You spent like how long with this girl? 3 days?
A few days.
Few days?
Yeah.
and you're deeply in love with her, this isn't a freaking
It's not
Disney Channel
true.
movie. You don't
It's
fall in
not
love with
true.
someone over 3 days.
Exactly.
This is ridiculous. Throwing away your marriage. I mean, it apparently sucks.
Right.
Leave your marriage, but throwing it away because you fell in love with someone over 3 days.
Yeah. The final airport journey was incredibly sad. She also said that no one can ever find out about this. She's from a very religious family in a rural, backwards country, and said that if any of her family or friends found out that she had split a family up, that she would be disowned. I got back home immediately and broke things off with the wife as gently as I could. I didn't tell the whole truth. I didn't want to hurt her feelings or have my new girlfriend disowned or have any complications at work. So fast forward to today. My colleague and I are crazily in love, but are also on and off. We are secretly dating outside of work, but things are bumpy to say the least. We've split up and gotten back together a few times. She's having great difficulty with the situation and needs to go to therapy to get through. We are great at the start of the week, but as Thursday approaches, when I have the kids, she breaks down. To complicate things, I spend a lot of time at the family home and haven't found a good place for myself yet. When things are going well between us, I feel invincible, have a lot more energy than the start of the year. But when things are rough, I have to deal with missing the kids on top of the sadness from the breakup. I feel extremely invincible, and now I'm also visiting a therapist. I want some stability in life and can't seem to get any for a long enough period of time to reassemble, find a good house in a decent suburb, and move in with my colleague, and it just seems as though things are getting worse.
I don't think she is married. You must
Well,
not have
it
her.
said relationships. Like, we're both in bad relationships.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So it
because
might
that's what I
not
was
be
remembering. So I
marriage.
guess maybe they're not married, but they were, or she was in a bad relationship.
Yeah.
Hmm.
The wife and I haven't publicly announced our separation, and this is also making things much harder for my new partner. She's only breaking up with me because the situation is hurting her badly, and she doesn't know if she even wants to be with me long term, even if everything was sorted. She wants to have her own kids and isn't sure that she wants to start again with someone who already has a family. By the way, you can always start again with us, whether you have a family or not, because we've got full episodes with more stories just like this one on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcast, whatever your favorite podcast app is. Just search OK Storytime.
Do it.
There is a little bit more to the story, but
Okay, so
yeah.
it seems like OP's like, oh my God, I cheated on my wife with my colleague who I am in love with after 3 days, and I left my wife for her, and she doesn't want to be with me? Like, no doy, dude.
Yeah, like,
The
on,
woman
man.
who like clearly didn't have the morals to not cheat on her partner and also to cheat with someone who's married and has kids.
yeah.
Maybe he's not gonna, want a long-term relationship with you.
Yeah, and I honestly want to know more details about like what problems the wife had in the relationship in the first place.
Yes,
Because I feel
he told us all about what she did, but
yeah.
not like why she felt unappreciated.
Yeah, because I think what a lot of men forget is that like for a lot of men, intimacy is the way to fix problems, and that
Yes.
solves things. But for a lot of women, intimacy isn't comfortable unless problems are already fixed, you know? So I have a feeling that is a part of it, but at the same time, if he was being truthful and if that's true that like he was really trying everything that he could and there were just so many things that just weren't working, and she's demanding so much or something like that, then I can understand, his position, not the cheating, but like, complaining about the intimacy. But yeah, dude, it just feels like there's not enough to this story because
Yeah, I feel like you're hiding things to
Yeah.
make yourself look better, but like you
Right?
cheated on your wife. Doesn't matter if you guys had a terrible relationship. You cheated on
Yeah.
her. Should have left her before you cheated on her.
right, and don't be surprised when your affair isn't a perfect relationship because it's not.
Yeah.
It's an affair.
It was an affair.
So apart from moving out, finalizing the separation and divorce, I really don't know what to do. I can keep trying with my new partner, even though it's hurting her and we are currently on a break. We love each other, but I know she's crying herself to sleep each night. Should I let her go? I think the world of her, and seeing her like this is terrible. There's probably still an option to pretend like nothing happened for the kids, but I don't even want to think about that. It'll certainly destroy me. Is it best if I end the new relationship? And there are some comments. Comment number 1 says, how does one give advice to a person as clueless as you?
Yeah.
That's it. That's the whole comment.
Yeah.
Comment number 2 says, maybe it's hurting her because she found her conscience and knows that someone who cheats on their partner or spouse and breaks up a child's home is not a good person.
Well, she even said it. She's like, I don't want to break up a home. And then you went, okay, I'm going to leave my wife and kids for you. And she went,
but we just won't tell
wait.
anyone.
No,
Yeah.
I broke up a family.
Yeah, like I think it's very possible that he didn't really realize that meant that she didn't want to continue a relationship.
Yes.
Because I think either they both said or she said that like they don't know if they can have a relationship, like a long term. I think it did. She said she didn't know if she wanted a full-time relationship with this
She
guy
did.
or a
Yeah,
full
she was like, I don't know if I want to continue this.
Yeah. So feel like you are a bit clueless here, bud. Comment number 3 says that's not a thing about your relationship with your affair partner that will allow it to survive in real life. And that's what you are seeing now. Affairs are fantasy. There's no mortgage, no kids, no bills, no doing the dishes, no mowing the lawn. You each left your spouses for a fantasy of something that existed only in the liminal spaces of life, not on the main drag of real life. So, of course, it's not surviving your attempt to go legit after adultery. Your affair partner is struggling with your children because, as a parent herself, she knows how important they are and how much they need their father. But the affair is born of selfishness, and adulterers are selfish, so she wants your complete attention like she had on the trip. The cognitive dissonance is wearing on her. The two of you are best off going no contact with each other. Learn how to live as a single dad and be a good co-parent. Then start to date again in the real world. And someone else responds, just to add, have you self-reflected on how you went about all of this at all? What I mean is, you went on a trip for a few days with a colleague, had a few days of great spicy sleep and getting wasted, etc., and came home and decided that you were leaving your wife and child for a woman you barely know, for a woman you only spent a few days with. You have no idea how she would be as a step-parent. You have no idea if your child will adjust well to her. You have apparently already made these decisions that you want to live together without even knowing if this person will be a person who will be in the best interest of your child to live with. Do you not find that strange? You seem very focused on how this woman is adjusting to all of this, yet I have seen nothing mentioned on how your child is adjusting. What is your plan in helping your child adjust to a split household? Or have you shown any kind of concern of if your child will adjust well to having this new person in their life?
I don't think he's thought about his kid at all. I think he's thinking about his affair partner.
I agree. Yeah, that's pretty much the end of that comment. But yeah, I agree. He's definitely not thinking at all. I think, and this is something that it seems like a lot of parents struggle with from these stories. I'm not a parent. I don't know. But like, I feel like a lot of people think, oh, I'll just stay for the kids, when it's like, okay, but if you really wanted to do what's actually right for the kids is to do what's right for yourself so that they could know, like yourself and your wife, obviously, not just like go and cheat, but like be a good example of how you should choose your relationships in front of your kids,
Yeah,
like
and you're choosing a person that you cheated on your wife with.
Yeah.
Fell in love with over 3 days.
Right.
And now like want to move in with her. That's not, you're not really modeling good relationships here.
But that's the end of that story.
I made a new friend and my wife is unhappy with my plans with him.
Oh, just be friends. Come on.
My wife, Amy, 27 female, and I, 27 male, have a spare room in our home. We've gone back and forth since we moved in 10 plus years ago about what we wanted to do with it, but we never took the initiative to actually implement any of those plans. We already have a sufficient number of guest rooms and an office, so the rooms just sit there unutilized. I'm not that worried about it, but my wife brings it up now and then. These mentions are just of the unused room itself, not anything concrete she actually wants to use it for. By the way, this comes from Spare Room Throwaway, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. So, I made a new friend, Ben, 30 male, about 8 months ago, and it was very much one of those we connected for the first time we spoke to each other situations.
Aww.
I've actually never had that many close male friends, so this connection is especially important to me. The conversation flowed so easily, we had loads in common. I didn't think such a huge amount of genuine love and respect for a person could be developed in less than a year, but it's been very cool to experience that and get to know him. One of the things that we bonded over was a similar love for art and music. Ben is way, way more talented than I am when it comes to painting, but it's something we both enjoy. His birthday is coming up, and I thought on top of what else I was getting him, I could turn the spare room into something similar to an art studio for both of us to use. I already ordered a few things for it and was getting ready to jump into painting the walls when my wife came in and demanded to know what I was doing. I explained that I was finally fixing up the spare room. She said it was unacceptable I had done this without confirming with her that I was okay. But I didn't think I would need to since it's been 2 years and the room has basically never been touched. Am I the a-hole? So he didn't do anything yet. He was just about to paint the room.
So it feels like a no to me.
It feels like a no. I think it's not an a-hole move that you were about to like paint it. I think maybe you probably should have talked to her about it, but she shouldn't. Like, I feel like that's a little bit of an overreaction for her to be like,
yeah,
this is not acceptable. You should have been like, hey, can you like talk to me about that before? Right. So just we make sure we're on the same page.
Yeah, exactly.
I do think if you haven't talked to her about Ben using the spare room, that is an a-hole move.
Yeah, that is a big deal.
Yeah, like I was a little bit unclear whether or not that's happened.
Right.
So if she knows, then, and this is all about the paint, then this is kind of, I don't know if we need to go a-hole. Maybe it was inconsiderate.
Right.
But if she doesn't know about Ben,
yeah,
that's maybe a problem. Consensus, a-hole. People point out that it seems he wants to spend time with Ben instead of Amy. Really? Notable comment says his birthday's coming up soon, and I thought of, on top of what else I was getting him, I could turn the spare room into something similar to an art studio. What else are you getting him for his birthday, OP, is what I want to know. Ben's not moving in. He's just using the spare room for an art studio.
Yeah, which is arguably weirder.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah. Inevitable Music 7799 says, I would bet money them not being able to find a use for the room is because wife was thinking nursery. Well, her husband's thinking man cave for my best friend that doesn't even live at this house. Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. It seems like she definitely doesn't know. Look, I'm just going to throw it out there because I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one thinking it. The way you talk about this relationship with Ben versus your wife makes it sound like he's more than just a friend. Maybe it's on a subconscious level only. You don't unilaterally decide what to do with a room in a house you share with your wife. It's weird that your first thought is, oh, I want to set up this space for me and the friend. It's weird that you view this as some kind of gift to the friend on top of whatever else you've gotten him. It's weird you want to give a key to the house you share with your wife to the friend without asking her. You're the a-hole. I think I didn't fully understand when I first read it.
I think so too.
So, yeah, because I was like, that's so weird. It couldn't possibly be that.
Right.
So he wants to give his friend a room in their house as either a communal or just an art studio for him, it seems, and he hasn't asked his wife about that. I thought he just wanted to paint the room and maybe like let him stay for a little bit. No.
He wants to paint the room and then paint a whole bunch of more stuff.
Yeah, and like Ben just gets to have part of this room now?
Yeah,
you can't do that without talking to your wife.
Yeah, what?
I'm on these comments side. That's weird.
Yeah.
That's I don't know if it's like a too friendly or something. I don't know. I can't say that yet.
Yeah.
But I think it's disrespectful for sure.
I'm just like so confused by it. Because it is one thing to be like, hey, like my friend's going to like stay here in this room for a little bit.
That's what I thought for a second.
Right. It's still, in that case, it's like a no, definitely talk to your wife.
Yeah.
You like stupid. But then this is like, it's the same amount.
It's like having an office in someone else's house.
Yeah. Like it just is boggling my mind right now.
My mind is boggled.
Yeah.
Am I the only one that thinks this guy is in love with his friend? Either way, you're the a-hole. And there is an update. 6 days later, Ben and I sat down and talked on Tuesday night about everything. It was overwhelming, to say the least. He was gentle and sweet, as always, and allowed me the time and space to say everything I needed to. That night was one of the most beautiful of my life. Hold up. What just happened? I need to go back to...
I was like not really with that comment with thinking that he's in love with him, but now I think he's
in love with him.
Yeah.
Acceptance, love, and trust are truly so powerful, life-changing. What is going on?
Acceptance of gayness.
Oh, Amy and I had a conversation about the spare room last night. I had been putting it off since my post a few days ago and was hoping to wait until the weekend to talk about it all, but she insisted. I did, as a lot of comments suggested, and used the renovation as a lead-in to talk about the other things going on. I told her that her reaction to it brought up a lot of confusing emotions for me that I've spent the last few days working through, and things continued from there. I had toyed with the idea of couples therapy, and it was something she suggested, but I don't think it's a viable option. I love her, but I've come to realize that I was never in love with her like I once thought.
Whoa!
Dude, he's gay for Ben.
Yeah.
I feel like I
gosh.
didn't even read the first post.
Right? I feel like there was like a
It would
this
just
is like a
yeah.
trilogy and we just didn't see the second book.
Literally, I was like, whoa,
Yeah.
okay. I was like, oh yeah, that's kind of rude that you decided that Ben can have a studio. Oh, you're in love.
Yeah.
And after
Dang.
getting to really and truly experience that, it wouldn't be fair to either of us if we tried to force something that I'm not capable of giving to her. I'll be splitting my time, staying in one of our guest rooms with Ben in his apartment for the time being while we separate and work things out moving forward. Obviously, that means the room renovations have been paused until further notice. I'm really, really excited for the future. By the way, you should get excited about listening to full episodes of stories just like this. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or iHeartRadio and search up OK Storytime. That
Wow.
was so quick.
That was very fast.
That was so fast.
These storytellers, they really need to
Oh,
work on their
dang.
pacing.
That's crazy. Notable comments. So, you cheated on your wife with an emotional affair, blamed her for your decisions with the whole your reaction made me confused bit, and now you're leaving her to go with your affair partner? Doesn't matter if it wasn't physical. This is an obvious emotional affair. Ben and I sat down and talked on Tuesday night about everything. It was overwhelming, to say the least. He was gentle and sweet as always and allowed me the time and space to say everything I needed. Yada yada. Emotional affair.
Wow.
I'm really, really excited for the future. Oh yeah, so exciting to completely destroy the life of the person that loved and supported you while you skip off to have your fun. So exciting. Poor Amy. She deserves so much better. You do plan on letting her have most of the assets in the divorce since you were the one unfaithful and wrecked the marriage, right? And poor Amy thought she only had to worry about a spare room being used without her permission. My heart broke a little for her. I bet she's thinking that if she hadn't gotten upset about the room, maybe her husband would still love her and be with her. I hope Amy reads these posts to see how much the rest of us wish her the best out of a horrible situation. Dude, I'm all for living as your authentic self, but this euphoria you obviously feel after breaking out of your ill-conceived art room closet doesn't absolve you from being an a-hole. Celebrating the evolution of your emotional affair into a full-blown one while your marriage is collapsing around you is incredibly poor taste and shows an astounding lack of empathy and compassion for your soon-to-be ex-wife. The reality is that you did try to move Ben into your marital home when you decided to repurpose a spare bedroom into a music room art studio love nest, so it's not much of a stretch to believe you would do it now for real. I get that you misspoke, were unclear, retracted the statement, but you can't honestly be surprised that people think the worst of you when you put it on display yourself. Amy's been at best an afterthought through this entire ordeal, and that just is sad. I feel so sorry for her and hope that you grow a conscience in time to make up for your lack of emotional generosity by giving her everything she wants in the divorce. There are more comments, but we're going to pause.
Oh my gosh.
Dang. I mean, I get what they're saying.
Yeah.
Like, on the one hand, yes, you can't stay with Amy because you don't love her and you're in love with someone else. So yeah, don't stay with her. But I do think there is this kind of like, sorry, Amy, I got to go with Ben now. Bye.
Yeah, I get
Like
that.
flippancy.
Maybe it's like the pacing of this story or something like that, but
Yeah.
I was shocked at those comments though.
Me too. I was like, whoa.
Like,
okay.
oh man, we got some big emotions over here. But yeah, I do agree.
Yeah.
A little bit at least. I mean, it seemed from how he was telling it seemed innocent and it seemed like I didn't really realize I loved him, that kind of
Mhm.
thing. Even though he definitely should have seen that he shouldn't move in his best friend.
Yeah.
Like that was just weird. But like,
It is super like, I'm thinking of this from just like a dating standpoint, but like if you're dating someone and then they're like, hey, I got to break up with you to go be with someone else.
yeah, that's pretty effed up.
Heartbreaking. And
Oh, yeah.
this is wife. This is
Yeah.
wife.
Yeah.
That's heartbreaking. And
Yeah.
it does feel like there's not been a lot of like focus on Amy's emotions. It's just like, this is what I want to do. So bye.
Right. Right.
I'm living my best life.
Yeah.
Peace out.
Yeah.
Another commenter says the fact that you sat Ben down to talk about things you and him already knew, since you've been having an emotional affair, days before you talk to your wife speaks volumes about your character. Okay. I partially agree that he should have talked to Amy first, or that he should have talked to Amy first.
Yeah.
But I feel like everyone's kind of harping on, like, you already knew you were having an emotional affair. I don't think OP knew.
Exactly.
You were even forced by your wife to have that talk with her. She deserved the first conversation. She was your wife. Your affair partner should have been put on the back burner for 5 minutes while you figured this out with her. I do agree with that.
Yeah.
Had your life-altering night with your boyfriend while your wife is still wondering about your spare room. Days later, the poor girl thought she was going to have a conversation about it, and instead you blew up her life and gave her absolutely no remorse about how you went about things, aka cheating on your wife. Good on you for figuring yourself out, but you are like at bottom of the barrel of humans at this point.
Oh my gosh.
I feel like we're reading different stories.
Yeah.
He was going to wait until this weekend to talk to her about it, not claim I was the reason he changed his mind, but I badgered him pretty consistently about it in his now deleted post because he was apparently set on trickle-truthing her instead of ripping the Band-Aid off. I think it might have been better received because I clarified that I'm a sapphic and wasn't coming at the situation from a closet guard standpoint. But Jesus Christ, this man, I am too invested. What was the gist of his post? Basically, that he would give her time to come to terms with their separation by letting her believe he's bi and then telling her he's after because it would let her down easier or something.
Well,
Dude,
no.
That's a huge a-hole move.
Yeah, that's not how
That's
it
a
works.
huge a-hole move. Be honest.
Dang.
You're already leaving her. Don't just say, like, honestly, it would probably feel better for her to know, like, oh, you just can't love me like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know, like if someone, I don't know, if he was like, oh, I'm bi, I'm going to go be with Ben.
Right.
Don't love you.
Yeah,
Devastating.
exactly. That would be like, oh, okay, so like you could. But yeah, like you said, it's
And but also the fact that he was going to lie about that and then come clean is even worse.
like, why just come clean?
I relatively politely tore him a new one over that. And that is the end of that story. My husband went back on his word just to please his mother.
Oh, we got a little mommy's boy in our hands.
My 23 female husband, 27 male, and I just recently had our first baby. Being a first-time parent definitely hasn't been the easiest, but I am absolutely loving every moment I have to bond and learn how to be a good parent with my son. Well, almost everything. Even before I had given birth, I was having difficult feelings regarding my mother-in-law. In order to understand everything, I'll have to give some backstory. By the way, this comes from Otherwise Soft 1011, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. So, to start it off, I can't go into too much detail as I'd like to for legal reasons. About a year after I had met my husband, his brother got into some legal troubles that led to him being arrested. Because of this, my now ex, sister-in-law, and their newborn son ended up moving in with my mother-in-law and father-in-law. Everything was going okay until my ex-sister-in-law randomly one day, while everyone was away from the house, packed up everything and took her baby and left.
Oh.
The entire family was devastated, especially my mother-in-law. She's the type of person who will overthink something to the point where they drive themselves crazy, and in this situation, she did just that. A couple of months after she left, brother-in-law had his first trial, and to everyone's surprise, my former ex-sister-in-law testified against him. That added to the hurt and betrayal, and once again, my mother-in-law drove herself basically crazy overthinking. Ex-sister-in-law ended up filing for divorce and moving states away with the baby. Since then, we have had no contact with her, and nobody has been able to see or talk to the baby. Last year, on my birthday, I found out I was pregnant. This was about 4 months after everything went down. When we told my mother-in-law and father-in-law, they were happy, but you could tell that they immediately thought of my ex-sister-in-law and her baby. I would like to go ahead and say that I understand and sympathize with them. After all, that was their grandchild that they helped take care of, only for him to be taken away without being able to say goodbye. That would hurt anyone, I'm sure. And I knew that they were going to need time to heal. However, despite all of that, my mother-in-law jumped on board with helping me figure out doctor's appointments and everything that I needed to do since I had no clue what to do. She was a really big help during my early stages of pregnancy, and I will forever be grateful for that. But This is now where we start running into the beginning of the issues. About 3 months into my pregnancy, we found out I was having a boy, and my due date was the same month as my ex-sister-in-law's baby's birthday. My mother-in-law was ecstatic. She started telling me that she had prayed to God, and that with me having a boy and him being born in the same month as ex-sister-in-law's baby, that he had answered her prayer and my son was going to be their restoration. Got to shut that down and be like, nope, this is not a replacement baby. This is a new baby.
Yeah, like,
New baby. I was a little weirded out with the wording, but I just figured this was her way of healing and getting past all of the pain. Then it got worse. It felt like I was constantly being compared to my ex-sister-in-law. For example, before we found out I was pregnant, my husband was teaching me how to drive. Yes, I don't know how to drive. However, that stopped once we did find out due to him wanting to be careful. There was a day where he couldn't get off work in time to take me to a doctor's appointment, and he asked mother-in-law if she could. She ended up going on a speech about how my ex-sister-in-law got her license and would drive to her doctor appointments all by herself, and that I should be more like that. I mean, you want her to be more like the ex-sister-in-law who ran away?
Yeah, what?
I'd be like, oh, so you want me to take my baby and go?
Yeah.
Is that how
like,
I should be
thanks,
like my
Mom.
ex-sister-in-law?
Right.
She knew it was my husband's idea to stop teaching me how to drive. When she found out my husband told me what she had said, she ended up crying and saying sorry. However, even after that, it got worse with the comparison. It got to the point where it was about everything. What I ate, what I wore, how much I slept, which hospital I was going to, even down to who I wanted in the room when I gave birth. It also felt like she became obsessed with the fact that my son was her restoration. She would go on and on about how she prayed for him, and that was the reason I got pregnant. She would constantly ask me if I was going to take him away from her like ex-sister-in-law did, saying that she wasn't going to let my son out of her sight for a second, and even told me that my husband and I should move in with her and father-in-law so they could watch and make sure he stays. To say our relationship started feeling strained would be an understatement. My husband tried talking to her multiple times about her behavior, but every time she would cry and say sorry, she doesn't want another baby taken from her. Now, I know PTSD is a thing, and it's something that constantly will bring back painful memories. However, at this point, it had been over a year since all of that had happened. Maybe I come across a little heartless when I say this, or maybe I'm fed up with the constant comparison, but you cannot continue to blame your behavior on things from the past if you are forcing yourself to stay in the past. Anyway, getting to the reason of this post. I had my son back in May. He's the best thing that has ever happened to me. I love this kid so much. When it comes to mother-in-law and father-in-law, I tend to try and walk on eggshells around them when it comes to my son. They absolutely adore him. He is now almost 3 months old. Time needs to slow down. And my husband and I are finally letting them watch him for a few hours here and there, despite my nervousness. The last few times they've watched him, my mother-in-law has told us that he's been projectile vomiting every time they feed him. That's concerning. Obviously, that's raised concern with me because he never does that when we feed him here. So I started to do some questioning. I eventually found out my mother-in-law will feed him, not burp him, and then lay him flat on his back.
Bro.
What? What? You don't know how to take care of a baby?
You have children. This is your grandchild.
Wow. After he pukes, she'll repeat the process. When I told her she needed to burp him, she got mad and argued with me, saying she doesn't need to burp him and that she's raised 2 kids, so she knows what she's doing. The baby is projectile vomiting every time you feed them.
Yeah. It's like that's what babies do.
It's just what babies do.
You don't need to burp him. Everything will come out.
Everything's fine.
No.
When I talked to my husband about it, he told me I need to be more mama bear with my son when it comes to mother-in-law, or you can stand up against your own mother.
You could be Papa Bear. Come on, man.
I asked him if I did that, if he was going to help me if she started trying to go against what I say, and he said he would. He should be the one addressing all of this.
Oh.
Obviously, ever since finding out that's what's happening when my son goes to their house, I've been more wary about them having him. This past Sunday, we were invited to go to a different church with different family. With it being a different church, I told my husband that I was probably going to hold the baby and not let mother-in-law and father-in-law have him this time, and he agreed that was a good idea. When church began, my son started fussing a little bit. I fixed him a bottle and was feeding him. I could see and feel both my mother-in-law and father-in-law looking past my husband to me and the baby, and I could tell they wanted him. I tried to ignore them until my husband poked me and told me that they wanted him, to which I replied that I knew, but I was feeding him, and I knew that if he started getting passed around, he would start crying. My husband then told me that was fine and to just take my time. My son finished eating, and I started burping him. And then after he burped, I started to kind of entertain him quietly so he wouldn't fuss. All the while, still feeling the gaze of my mother-in-law and father-in-law. My husband then again told me they wanted him, to which I again told them a little more forcefully that I knew. And I did not care that I was going to hold my baby. You literally asked her to be more mama bear, and now she got to be mama bear to you?
Exactly.
He then got mad at me and told me that it wasn't that big of a deal and proceeded to take my son from me and give him to mother-in-law. Not even a minute later, my son was full-blown crying and being passed back to me. Come on. And I ended up having to go outside to calm him down. Like, you did that.
Literally.
And then you pass him back to mom to fix it?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It's like you're not even gonna be self-aware and be like, oh yeah, I am the problem.
My husband followed after shortly to help, and then you guessed it, mother-in-law. She came up asking if she needed to take him from me, to which I said no, that I was okay. A couple of minutes later, she asked me again, and I said the same thing. My husband ran to the bathroom real quick, and in that time, she asked again, and I told her that I was okay. We were in an unfamiliar place. My baby was crying, and I wanted to comfort him. She then asked me if I was keeping her from holding him because I've spoiled him to only want me. By this point, my husband came back, and I told him I was ready to leave, so we packed up and left. By the way, you should never leave because you can listen to full episodes with stories just like this. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or iHeartRadio and search up OK Storytime. There is a little bit left to this story. Do you have any final thoughts?
These people are so blind.
So blind.
I mean, really? Like, you think that OP is spoiling him to only like OP?
being held by his own mom?
Yeah, and then when you try to hold him and then he starts crying because it's not the time or place to hold him, you just give him back?
Give him right back and then come out and be like, oh, can I take him again after OP has seemingly calmed him down? It's like, no.
It's like, no.
No, you can't take him.
Like, why didn't you want to do that earlier?
Yeah, why did you hand him right back to me?
Literally, come on.
Like, you go outside and figure out how to calm him down. Come on.
Right.
But there is a little bit left of the story. But final thought, husband, you are not fulfilling your end of the bargain. You're not helping at all.
Not at all.
You're just doing whatever mommy said. I was livid at my husband and the audacity of my mother-in-law. When we got home, I told him what she had said to me, and then I told him I didn't appreciate him telling me to be mama bear and agreeing with me about me holding him only for him to go back on his word. All he had to say was that he could tell mother-in-law wanted him, and he gave him to her for a second to get it out of her system.
Gosh.
I don't care.
Then don't get mad.
Baby.
Like,
you can't use the baby to calm mother-in-law down.
Exactly.
At this point, I was fed up, and I told him that I didn't care if she wanted him or needed to get it out of her system. That was my son, not hers, and what I said regarding him should stick. He got mad and said it was like I didn't want anyone to hold him. To which I replied, saying that if I didn't want someone to hold my baby, they weren't going to hold him, end of story. He's been mad at me ever since, and I'm honestly starting to worry if I went too far and let my emotions get the better of me. Any advice appreciated. And that is the end of that story, folks. And the end of this episode.
Yes, it is.
So if you love us, make sure to subscribe.
We love you.
And see you tomorrow.